Welcome back to the channel, guys. I've got this Astra in for some pre-MOT work this time. I'll grab you the MOT sheet and tell you what needs doing. Last year on the MOT sheet, it was drive shaft damaged but serviceable. It's the inner CV joint worn, but instead of just changing that, we're going to change the entire drive shaft. I'm going to get some gloves on and get started. First things first, I'm going to pop the bonnet and make sure the handbrake's on. I know I'm only changing the drive shaft, but it's good practice to pop the bonnet up anyway. First thing first, you're going to need some wire cutters to cut off cable ties for your wheel trims. Yeah, get it. Now we've cut the cable ties off, we now just have to pull the wheel trim off. Once you've took the wheel trim off, put it away somewhere safe. Now we're going to loosen the wheel nuts. You're going to need a brake bar and a 7mm socket. 17mm socket. Now what you're going to need is a 32mm socket and your breaker bar. Whilst the car's still on its wheels, we're going to break the drive shaft nut. Now we've got the drive shaft nut loose and the wheel nuts loose, we're going to jack the car up and get on an axle stand. Now we've got the jack in place, I'm going to jack it up just enough so we can get an axle stand underneath it. Now we've got the car jacked up, we're going to put the axle stand underneath the car. Now we've got that in position, we can lower the jack back down again. Now, being as careful as possible, we're going to lower the car down onto the jack stand. Now we've lowered that down, we can pull the jack out and move it out the way. Now we've got the car and the stand, we can start taking this wheel off. Now they're all undone, we can just take the wheel off. Now we've got the wheel off, you can actually see that we need a new tyre. What you're going to do now is you're going to lay it down flat on its side and push it underneath the car. Now with our 32mm socket, we're now just going to take off our drive shaft nut. Good. Now I've just got to undo the bolts for the bottom ball joint. First I'm going to spray it with some WD-40 just to make it easier for me to undo it. Making sure I cover it with a few sprays of this. And now just do this side. Now with that 18mm socket, we can undo our bottom ball joint bolt. You might need two 18mm sockets to hold it still whilst you undo it. Now the nut's off, we just need to tap out the bolt. Now what I'm going to do is put the nut on the bolt and put it on my toolbox out the way to keep it safe. All the nuts and bolts that you take off, put them somewhere safe so you don't lose any. Now what you're going to need is a hammer and a chisel. With your chisel, make sure you drop it down onto your lower arm. Now with your hammer, you've just got to tap on your chisel to break the lower arm free. Just like that, we've broke it free. Now with our hammer, we've just got to tap the drive shaft to knock it out the hub. Now we've hammered that in, we can pull the hub off of the drive shaft. Now I've just got to pull the hub to the left hand side and pull the drive shaft to this side. Now I've got access to the drive shaft, I can now yank it out by hand. But I'm going to need an assistant to hold the hub out the way. Ben, leave that cortina for 5 minutes and give me a hand with this, please.
What can I help you with?
Can you pull this hub over to the left hand side so I can pull this?
Drive shaft out?
Yeah, drive shaft out.
Did you forget your script then, did you?
Yeah.
Right, you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
You've got to really yank it. Tug it, pull it out. Pull it. Tug it. Right, can I get back on my cortina now?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks. There we have it, one drive shaft from the Astra removed. It's actually this CV joint what's broken. You can't see the damage because it's all inside of here. But it's worn loose and it needs replacing. Instead of just replacing this CV joint, we're going to take this whole entire thing to SAS Matlock. Massive change of plan. SAS can't get hold of a drive shaft for us, so we're going to go to Partic just up the road, and they said they could get us one. Right, got the drive shaft, let's get home and put it on the car. Here we are, back with our new drive shaft. Just wanted to say a massive thank you to Partic Worksop for getting this sorted for us. We've gone with an ODM one, a really great brand. Now let's get this fitted to the Astra. Ben's actually done me a massive favour. He's wire brushed all the rust off and sprayed it with some black rust paint. On the input shaft there's a circlip and you've got to compress this before you slide your drive shaft on. Gonna put a cable tie around the circlip as tight as I can to compress it. Here's the cable tie. This is keeping the circlip closed when I push the drive shaft on.
Comfy?
Yes. Now we've got our drive shaft lined up, all we need to do is wiggle it on, and so it pushes the cable tie out the way. You've just got to push it on enough so it moves the cable tie out the way. Now with some wire cutters we can cut off the cable tie. Now we can shove the drive shaft on all the way. Now we've got our drive shaft into the input shaft. We've now got to put this end into the hub. Now pull the hub to one side. Now we can get our drive shaft into the hub. Now we've got our drive shaft in the hub. We've just got to put the hub back onto the lower arm. Now we've just got to make sure that the hub sits on the lower arm. There we go, that's our lower arm in the hub. And now we're just going to screw this hub nut on by hand. Now we can put in our bottom ball joint bolt. Now with two 18mm sockets you can tighten up the bottom ball joint bolt. Right, that's tightened. Now we're going to tighten up the hub nut. Right, that's the hub nut tightened. Before we put the wheel on, we've got to check everything to make sure everything's nice and tight. So we've tightened our hub nut. We've tightened the bottom ball joint bolt. New drive shaft is in. We've given it all the nice rust proof. So yeah, I think it's time to chuck a wheel on. This is the tyre what came off. As you can see, it's down to the threads, so we're not going to put this one back on. There's the threads, that's why it needs changing. Luckily, we've got a fresh one to put straight on. So let's get this wheel on this car. So you just want to get your wheel lined up. Make sure all the holes are in line with the holes in the hub. And you've just got to start with putting one of your wheel nuts in at the bottom. I've just got to screw all your wheel nuts in by hand. Now I'm just going to nip them all up with a 17mm socket. Now we've tightened them, we can drop the car down and tighten them up properly. Now we've just got to jack up the car and we can pull out the axle stand. Right, we can lower the car back down on all four wheels. How did that just shut? Now we can just tighten all these wheel bolts up. Right, that's all them tightened up. Let's get the wheel trim back on. The locking wheel nut key for this car came in this bag, and we're going to put it back in here and put it back in the door because that's where the customer left it. Now we can put this wheel trim back on. The valve on the tyre goes into this little hole onto the wheel trim, so line it up, and when it's on, tap it and it will just go straight on. So you're going to need 2 cable ties, one at 12 o'clock and one at 6 o'clock. Make sure they're through the trim and the wheel, and then you're just going to want to tighten them down. Now with your cutters, you've just got to cut off the excess for the cable ties. There, wheel trim on. Right, time to take it for a test drive.
Test drive, bang on, boss.
And that's how you change a drive shaft on a Vauxhall Astra. If a 9-year-old can do it, you can do it too. A massive thank you to Partic for supplying the drive shaft and saving us loads of money. Without you, we would have been stuck. If you've got work you need doing on your car, drop it in the comments and I might just show you. Thanks for watching today's episode. This is Pit Stop Repairs and I'm Hollie-Bops, and I'll see you on the next one.